Hey Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Deb. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Welcome everybody to another episode of Deb and Doug Analyze the Market.
A day in insights.
The
Hey,
day in
speaking of analyzing the market, Deb, before we dive too deep into insights and everything,
Sure, sure.
we traded Injective the other day, and you chose a different coin. I can't remember what you chose. How,
Yeah.
how- how'd you end up on that?
Well, good. I'm in a really good place. So the coin is SIDUS. I really believe in the project. I like the coin. And there was a day, as I said on the last live, I was looking at Injective and I was looking at Citus, and I was trying to decide which one of these should I pour some cost average into, right? Which one should I help get that price down to a place where I could get out a little bit sooner?
Yeah.
And I jumped into Citus. And on Monday, my little brain was wishing that I had jumped into Injective instead because it started going up before Bitcoin started its run. And I didn't go out and look to see what all the excitement was about. But of course, I was thinking, what have I done?
Hmm.
But then later after the live, I got a notification that, hey, something sold on my account when it was Citus.
Oh, good.
And then later in the day, I got another notification that something else sold on my account. So that cost averaging work that I put in, that money management work that I put in, it absolutely paid off, and it will continue to pay off because it does. It
It
does.
does work. So
Now,
you
had
had
I
two Siduses close?
I had two closed. I had one open because I had set it with an aggressive
Oh.
pullback, which I like because again, I like the coin, and it is low in the market compared to
Hmm.
where it's been, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I do want to continue to trade um, that coin. So I was happy about that. But then I went in and followed your instruction from, how do you find uh, on your nSights account? How do you find stuff that's just sitting there and maybe could work better for you in other places?
Hmm.
And my not being able to jump into Injective and help in cost averaging when I wanted to do that, I realized I need to bank a little bit more of what I'm doing here so that I can take that money and play with it. So I deleted a grid line and ended up
Oh.
with 75 more dollars in my available that I can go now find another coin to do a little cost averaging on. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Cool.
two
Yeah.
trades closed, one opened, and I pulled a grid line out. So it actually, and it, you can't say it always does, right?
No.
Because we're not financial advisors, and past performance is not indicative of future results, right? So it doesn't always
Correct.
turn out good, right? But when you have money management, when you have the tools like we've built inside of nSights to
Yeah.
take care of you along the way, it changes everything, Doug.
Yeah.
Changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
so I'm
it
excited.
changes a lot of bad into a lot of good. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
And
indeed.
and with that in mind, what I want to do today, Deb, because last time we changed some grids around and I did some instant sells, right? They were a little bit in profit. And I talked about that you could set a number for it to sell if it hits that number to sell automatically for you, which could be different than your target profit that you set for your grid when you set up your grid.
Right.
So I'd like to do that today in maybe Allure or ALU. Was it
Altura.
maybe Altura
Yeah.
and Bitcoin? I'd like to do it maybe in both of those.
Okay.
So I think I have trades in, or maybe it was Injective. I No, I think it's ALU. So
Yeah, you do have an AL. We've talked about your AL. This will be good because guys, what I'd like to do with all these live videos that we're doing is I'm starting to go back now and start to tie them together so that
mhm.
when we're talking about a particular coin, you can go back then right in the description. I'm adding the links to all of the videos where we've talked about that coin, and I'm putting them in the order of where we talked about them, right? So that'll
Oh,
be
that'd be
nice.
cool.
I've got Injective done, and I'll do Altura next Altura next
Yep.
since we're
Yeah.
talking about it today. Yeah.
Well, and they can follow what it did in the market. So that's really cool. Well, I don't want to keep everybody really long today, so let's dive into this and let's have a peek at it. Because this is the one that we cost averaged last time
Yes.
and brought it down. And I know other traders have this happen, so I'm not going to say something that, in fact, I'm going to say something that everybody's going to go, yeah, we know that, we all experience that. You know, if I look at this and I get it kind of right in the middle of that and go to the top of this, I'm at 5.39%, Deb, when it hit its high.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a couple of more, you know, little ticks up and I would have gotten out in profit,
You would
right?
have been out. Yes.
I knew that was going to happen. No,
Of
I
course you
didn't.
did. And you wanted to be able to come on today and show us that sometimes you're going to have a little bit of heartbreak, right?
Right,
You knew it was
right,
going to happen, but you
right,
wanted to use it as a lesson. So that
r-
makes a lot of sense, Doug.
right. Absolutely. So I'm looking at, and let's click on this thing. I'm looking at uh this trade right here, okay, which I'm just a little bit negative on right now. Um, let's make sure we got the right trade. So what we want to do, anytime you're doing this, you want to come in, click, make sure you got the right trade, view on chart.
And you can always go the other direction, right? So you can click on the dot that you think it is.
And that turns yellow.
Uh-huh.
Click on the dot, like Deb said, and it brings me to the trade and shows me my cost averages on those trades. So what I did so everybody can see that, I just clicked on the green dot there. It highlights the trade in green, then brings up the cost averages for that trade. And I can see that I've got about 225 in that trade already. So I'm going to modify this a little bit. I'm not going to cost average anymore. Tempting, but the market hasn't dropped enough from my last cost average for me to do that, right? I'm actually right at the price that cost average is at. I'm almost at even right now. So market would really have to drop for me to do another cost average, but I want to get out in some profit, and maybe I'm going to use the market high here. I could use this high, or I could use this high. You know, if the market bounces back up and retests, you know, what is that going to do for me in terms of profit? So I can start. Let me write down a couple of numbers here, Deb. I'm going to write down 0 0.0 and then I'm going to do the wick highs here at 0.04587. Okay. So what I want to do is, if I get a retest, I want to know, you know, can I get out in some profit, and am I okay with the profit that it would give me? So I come to the one, it's already highlighted green because we clicked on the dot on the chart here, and it brought us down to show us which trade we're talking about. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit the edit button here, and I wrote a couple of numbers down. So if I change this number to that first number, that 40450, so I've got 04 already, so 50 I need. That tells me my expected market movement's about 4%. I know there's fees, so that would give me around between 3 and 3.5% profit if I target this number, which again is the body. Just, it's really kind of you know, we had a high, we came back down to barrier, and then we retested, and we really retested this high, okay, or kind of the breakdown range, and that's this range right here. So if I go for the high here, okay, what would that be? Now I'm risking the retest coming up, hitting this barrier and not coming up to here if I select this higher barrier instead of this low barrier. Okay.
Mhm.
So, but what would that be? Let's edit that. And we wrote down that number, and it's 0.04587.
Yes,
So
that was it.
about 6%. Okay. So anywhere between those two numbers, I could select and I would be getting out in some profit. So let's select the smaller number just so that we can see if it bounces up and we can get out so that you guys can see it happen. Okay. So 0.0450. Okay. And remember when we did this before, I'll show you again here. When I do this here, it's a sell now button. Okay. But as soon as I modify this number to 50, it becomes an update button. So what that is going to do, it's going to update this particular trade, and it's going to be different than the profit margin that I set for the overall grid. It's going to override everything for that profit and set it to the number here that I want. So if it hits this number, retest this number, it's going to try to find me an exit. So let's do that. So I'm
Love
going
that.
to, yeah, it's cool.
Another excellent money management tool, Doug.
Oh, it's awesome.
I mean, this thing is just exploding with money management
Yeah.
tools.
Yeah. It's so much fun for me. I was telling Mary, my wife, I was, it's so much fun to sit down and be able to have so much control over what's going on, and I just love it. So let's go down and let's look at Bitcoin. Okay, I have a Bitcoin that is in some profit right now. I could sell that, okay, and get out in some profit if I wanted to. Or I could also look at doing a retest. Now look at, we moved this to aggressive, right? And it's looking at if it gets down here, trying to get into another trade. Okay. We'll see if it gets us into another trade.
Is that aggressive
And
or is that standard?
I thought we set it to aggressive. Did we go to
Well, I know we've been
standard?
doing, we've been doing some moving
Well,
around.
let's
I'm
let's
just
just measure
curious.
it. Let's just measure it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
three.
still
It's
aggressive.
aggressive. It's
Still
aggressive.
aggressive. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Keeping me honest, Deb. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's what I do. So do you have an open grid line on this
Well, that's a good question too, isn't it? I do.
Oh, you do. All right, guys. So
Yeah.
just to help you understand what you're seeing there, go ahead and go back up to the top. He's got an open grid line. He's got money sitting there on this grid, and he's told nSights, when you see a good entry, a little when you pull back and then get some volume coming in, anything below 3.5%, which is our aggressive rule, anything below 3.5%, go ahead and get me into that trade. Just go ahead and buy that trade, get me
Yeah.
in. But it has
Okay.
to pull down below where that green dot is, has to pull down below that, and then has to start going back up, proving that the intent is to go back up.
Yeah. So for most people, they're used to trading just grid lines, and what you're pointing out, Deb, is really, I think, important. Most of the time you come down, you hit the grid line, you're automatically in. Um, for us, hitting the grid line is qualification number one.
One.
Okay. There's multiple qualifications for this. And so you have to get below like our hit and be in this range to do qualification number one. Then you have to have some up volume to come in, which is qualification number two. And you still have to be a certain range away from your barrier so that you don't get this, big what I would call, you don't get something like this that happens where it comes down, qualifies, right? Now you got your qualification, and then it gets this great big candle up, right? And you're right near the barrier. Oh, why did it do that? I told you I was never going to use this mouse again on one of these calls, and there I went and did it.
There you went and did it.
Yeah. So it has about 4 or 5 qualifications that it has to do, but a couple of the most important ones, it has to hit the qualification 1, has to have some net volume, and you still have to have room to get in and get into profit. It can't be right up against your barrier. Those are 3 of the simple qualifications
Doug, tell them what
without
happens.
going.
Tell them what happens if it just continues to drop. Let's say it drops 3.5%, and then now it's at 4%, and then 5, 6, 7. What if it gets to 10%
Yeah. So if it
and keeps
does,
going?
we'll see big candles like this in the crypto market where we have a big drop and it hits a barrier here. Lots of times then we'll see a small up pressure. Okay. Now there's multiple qualifications. I won't go into all of them, but we get some up pressure, and it's not just up pressure. There's specific things that it needs to do. But when we see that, it will skip this. And if this qualifies, it will get us in here, which would be, you know, really playing the deeper barrier. And sometimes you'll get it to stair step down too. You'll get, you know, not just a straight down candle, right? You'll get multiple candles coming down like this, and then you get the up candle, right? So it doesn't matter if it's 1 candle, 5 candles, 10 candles. If it's down pressure like this here, multiple downs, then it will wait until it gets this up pressure before it starts taking a trade. And in this case, it would be, much better off. You would be, down about where the standard is. And I talked about that when I did this because I went aggressive, knowing that if we get a red like this, if it breaks this bottom, and I went and I measured these before, so I know that I'm just at the edge of this being the acceptable range, right? Just enough that if this decides to break, that if I'm lucky, and trading sometimes is just lucky, it doesn't really matter, in terms of I'll manage it no matter what it does. But, sometimes you want to position yourself for the best potential outcome that you can have. So I'm slightly below this barrier. So now if it rolls over and I get a down, I get any kind of down pressure, right? Like this, right? It rolls over and I get this down. Now I'll find myself down here getting into a trade. If it hits this and holds, then I will get in here. So I set it up where I have the best of both worlds. Okay. So I'm very happy with that. But what I want to do
Love it.
also, yeah, is look at managing this trade that is in a buy but didn't close out because I have my target set, remember, at 35%. Okay. So I'm looking at, if I retest this 71095, 71095, if I retest that, what kind of profit would I have, and should I take it? Okay. So I can use this tool to help me make a decision. I don't have to hit the update button, is what I'm saying. And you'll see that right now. I can come here. I can set this at 71095. Okay. And it's expected market movements an additional 2.4% from where I am right now. And where I am right now, I'm in 5% profit. Okay, right here. Okay, so it would put me in that 7 to 8 range. And if I like that, right, I can update this to 71095. Now, if I think it's going to break that top and I want to push it for a little bit more, right, I could come here and I can look at my barriers and I can say, here's 713. I can go back and I can say, okay, 7.2. Lots of barriers at 7.1. I know we've talked about that in the past. 7.3, 7.2. You know, do I want to push it to those highs, or do I want to maybe get a retest of this, take some profit, and let it then roll over and take another trade? I'm going to do that. I'm going to set this at actually 7.2. Let's just measure here. Really want to be in the bodies, and I don't want to push to wicks, right? These are 713. This body is 72355. Again, these are Hakanashi candles. Okay. So I'm going to put a line here just on the bodies. 72290. Okay. 72290. All right. So now let's go back down to our Bitcoin, find our buy, you know. And if I had a lot of money in this trade, I don't, I have a little cost average. If I had a lot of money in this trade, I might be tempted to take this, but I'm not, right? I don't, you know, if it comes back down, I'll add to the trade. I'll get more money into it, completely in control of how I want this to play out. And I'm not dictating to the market what I want it to do. What I'm doing is setting up scenarios that if it does this, then take my money out, I'm in profit. If it doesn't do that, it comes down, then I'll cost average more and I'll move my position down and I'll be in a better position to work with the ebb and flow of the market. Okay. So let's do that. Let's edit this one. I said
72290.
Ooh, 90, not 09.
Yep.
My dyslexia kicking in.
Mhm.
72290. Okay. So let's, and I can see that's 4% from where we are right now. I'm already 5% in profit. That will put me pretty close to about that 10% profit range. Okay. And I'm happy with that. So let's update that.
I love that. I love being able to manage one trade at a time if you wanted to, instead of your entire grid,
Right.
every trade, sell it at this profit. Well, on this particular trade, I'm really in here. I'm looking. Here's what I'd like to set it at. And then you can come in tomorrow, and tomorrow the market will have changed if it doesn't, if it doesn't go up and hit
Yeah.
that number before.
So I
It'll
want to,
change and you might change your mind. That's what
yeah.
I love.
Yeah. And Deb, what I like too is that now I don't have to remember what I did, right? The token predicted value that target is trying to hit changes to blue here. And
When you, yeah,
when I did it, right?
when you manipulated it,
And
yes.
so I know this is me, this is the system,
Yeah,
okay? And so because I manipulated it and we did it up here too, right? We can look at, there it is, blue.
yeah,
Okay. So now I can go, okay, because the important thing is it's going to get out at a different target than what the rest of the system is trying to get out at. And it's important that you have visual, easy references to know, oh, hang on, I manipulated that, I changed it. That's the number I was going for, and I'm happy with that. So yeah, Deb, I'm happy.
I'm happy too. I love watching. Guys, you know, if you don't know anything about trading, um, nSights DeFi Trader is your tool. You need to come in and use it. And while you have grids going automatically where you don't even have to touch them, it's selling and it's buying and it's selling and it's buying according to the rules that you set up. Very simple for you to do that, by the way. But if you want to learn how to trade, you get to watch what nSights does with your trades. But in addition, you get to learn from the master trader, how it all works and what you should be thinking about when you're in a trade. If you wanted to really, be that trader and override what the system is doing for you already. It's phenomenal. And Doug, thank you so much, because every time I come on with you, I learn just a little bit more about these tools and what I have at my fingertips. And I appreciate it so much. It just
Oh,
gives me another way of looking at things when I go look at my own grids. Now, what I like about after these calls, I usually go to my own grids and I start, using some of the tools that you're teaching on these calls. I really appreciate it. And if you're on live, oh, I forgot to check on you. I'm going to check on you. If you're on live watching us right now, make sure you're smashing that like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell so that you can see every time something is loaded. We've got Gary is here, Candace is here, Stephen Lance is here, Drew is here. Thank you guys so much. You are a lot of the regulars that are coming to all the calls, and we sure do appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us. Gary says, thank you. Great training. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, we all do. Absolutely. Doug, you're amazing.
it's fun.
It's
Well,
so fun.
I got to tell you, I got a plan here. If I teach you guys enough, and I especially teach you, Deb, enough, somewhere down the road, I could play more golf.
Oh, yeah. See, that's tough for me, Doug, because I always want you playing golf. Like,
Right.
I get so much joy just knowing you're out doing what you love. But no, I don't see you.
Don't see me stepping away.
I don't see that. I think let's see. We don't go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so those are
There,
wide open for you.
there you go.
Sundays are wide open. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got
I
three
got three
days in
days out
there.
of the week. I'm good.
Easy.
Love it. Love it. So,
You're
well,
amazing. Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
everybody. Deb, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys on Friday.
Friday.
Yes, it's
And no
Wednesday.
call this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Remember, no call
No
this
call on
weekend.
Saturday, guys. So plan on coming the following Saturday to our community call for traders, where we get on and you guys can be with us. You can ask Doug your questions. He's going to answer you directly. Come meet us. We are trying to grow our community. We need more people to see this platform that we're using, and share it out. Share it out. We'd love to welcome you into the family.
Right.
All right. Excellent. Have a good one. I'll see you on Friday. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Deb.